Today from r/JustNO mother-in-law. Fiance fell into a coma. Mother-in-law banned me from the hospital. My fiance and I have been together for 7 years. We met when we were 15. We got engaged quite a bit ago and haven't been able to afford the wedding we both want. It's not a huge issue to us. We are very much go big or go home on this. Anyway, he got hit by a car on his way to pick up some things for the company he runs with his dad. He suffered major brain injuries and was put under a medically induced coma. When I found out, I was absolutely terrified. He was sleeping for a week until the swelling of his brain was deemed safe enough to wake him up. During this time, my mother-in-law was a monster. Firstly, we have never got along well because she is very overprotective of her sons. She is a boy mom. She even stated before she was jealous of how much time we spent together. I've always been respectful to her whenever I'd see her. But she is generally not someone I would become close to anyway. I usually don't visit her home, as the few times I have, she has been rude and unapologetic every time. She refused to take my number from his younger brother when I asked for updates. I relied on him for them. Terrified one day I'd wake up and hear the bad news. He's a teenager and doesn't care much for answering texts. Mother-in-law did not want to talk to me at all, so I called the hospital every day until his condition allowed visitors. I asked the nurses if I was allowed to go, and they said yes and gave me instructions to find his room. He was in the ICU and was not very responsive, but they said he was doing okay and could hear people most of the time. It was a horrible sight to see. My heart broke seeing him become just a body of tangles of IVs and tubes. Turns out, mother-in-law found out I was there when they wouldn't let his 2 friends go up, because I was already taking up one of the visitor badges. She was furious, spoke to his nurses, and banned anyone but her and her family to visit. Said I have to mind my own business, butt out and leave them alone to deal with everything. I completely understand she was terrified for her son, but it was so unfair that she prohibited me from going while her son didn't have a say. Every single day, she talked badly of me to her younger son because he tried to have her see she was being unfair to me. Although my fiance is 22, he was in no state to speak, and much less deal with drama, so the nurses obliged to her demands. I was banned from visiting when I called. They required a password given to family only. He's recovering now, at home, much more responsive, but still cannot deal with any of the problems. Once he was woken up and talked a little more, his brother asked him for permission to let me visit. Both him and his primary nurse agreed. His mom refused to let me know when he asked her for me. It's been about 3 months. Mother-in-law has bumped into me a couple times when I pick him up and drop him off, or simply just around the city. He lives an hour away, and she works near my house. She still refuses to talk to me and actually runs when she sees me. But since he can be up and about now, he spends a lot of time in my home. There's still a lot he still needs to learn again, but he's expected to make a full recovery. We decided to marry simply at downtown in my city and have a small get-together at my dad's large house. As for my mother-in-law, she is not invited. I simply said she made me uncomfortable while he was in the hospital, and we would talk about it later. He agreed it was for another day and just wanted me to be happy when we get married.